Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I have the pleasure of introducing Dr. Arvind Panagariya, Vice Chairperson of NITI Aayog, the institution which was, I wouldn't say which was earlier Planning Commission, but the institution which kind of replaced the Planning Commission, a new avatar. Also welcome, sorry, my apologies, I welcome Janmejaya Sinha, who's Executive Chairman of the Boston Consulting Group, Asia Pacific. Welcome, Dr. Sinha. Dr. Panagariya, if I might just take you to the entire demonetization exercise. Of course, when the Prime Minister announced it on the 8th of November, he did say, everybody said that it was one of the boldest political moves India has seen in a long time. But over what has happened in the last 40 plus days, there have been orders after orders, notifications from the Reserve Bank of India and press statements by the Finance Ministry, notifications by the Revenue Department. Do you think the whole exercise is getting lost in this din, or the advantages of what demonetization could bring to the Indian economy in rooting out black money and corruption? Do you think that focus is no longer there with this big exercise?
No, I really think that this was really an unprecedented move. There is in the entire history of the world, including of India, of course, a move of this magnitude has ever been taken. So this is really the first time that something like this, of this magnitude, was done. And so there not being any precedent, evidently the government tends to be a bit more reactive, that there is no book to go to, and as the situation evolves, reactions happen. As to your kind of bigger question, whether what has been done will be sort of lost because of the way it has unfolded in the last 40 days, I don't think so. I think, the basic objectives of demonetization will be achieved, and indeed much more so. And I never saw this move, actually, if you see whatever public statements I made, I never saw it as an isolated step. There were about half dozen other steps that had been taken prior to this. This is obviously the biggest of the steps so far. And I don't think this will be the last one either. I think, India has a long way to go in terms of setting the policies right. And while this is going to be a milestone, and when we look back, when the economic historians write history of this 10 years from now or later, this will be seen as a turning point and a milestone. But I think there's still more policies to come. We need to follow up, and we'll need to build up on what has been done.
Right.
So, Professor, I have a follow-up question on that. The question that people are asking me is what do you think the GDP impact will be? In how many quarters will it come back, and which industries are being hit more and which are not being hit at all?
To make any estimate of what the growth impact is going to be with the available information today is dicey. What I can quote is that there are about 13 pronouncements have been made, of which 11 say that it's going to be 1% or less. 2 of these predict a larger impact. My own view generally is that there is a painful transition that we are going through, but we would more than recover whatever we lose in terms of growth in the current quarter, maybe the next one. This will be more than recovered as we go forward.
Various estimates have been made about its impact on the economy. The former Prime Minister said that it could cost the economy about 2 percentage points. Ambit has been much more pessimistic in the impact it might have. But overall, do you think that it could actually lead to demand destruction in the long run also? Because what we gather from, say, lots of small and medium entrepreneurs across the country is that there are job losses which are being reported. There are also people who are not being called back to work. There are bicycle and textiles and various small sectors which are kind of feeling the pain. And this is kind of demand destruction which might, and at the micro levels, I think people might actually not be able to get back to business in the next 6 months to a year. So do you think that it will unfold in a manner which the government could not have anticipated on day one?
Well, look, unfolding clearly, nobody can anticipate how human beings are going to react to such a gigantic kind of change, shock, if you will. Nobody can really predict. But that being said, I personally don't think that any of this is going to be permanent. The supply chains, etc., that get temporarily disrupted will recreate themselves very quickly. I think of, for example, this, hurricane that came to New Orleans, and it looked like this city will never be rebuilt again. And of course, New Orleans is back to life. And that is a history, actually, of many cities when they experience some gigantic shock like that. Eventually, they come back, rebuild themselves. So I personally don't think that this is going to, and ultimately it's all a matter of incentives. People do react to incentives, and as long as we go in and ensure that we recreate the incentives, which I think we will recreate once the liquidity is fully there in the system, and perhaps better, because a lot of the digital technologies would also have been adopted by then, at least by a significant proportion of the population. So I think in the longer run we'll come out much stronger and farther ahead.
What are the key initiatives that the government is taking for job creation? And jobs in the millions, 20 million jobs. How soon and where will we find them?
Look, again, on multiple fronts. First of all, the government can provide a good environment for the creation of jobs. Ultimately, I hope you would appreciate, being from the private sector, that ultimately the jobs should be created by people like yourself, and many more, I'm sure, in the audience here. But what the government's effort, therefore, has been is to really create a healthy environment for businesses to flourish. So there's been a continuous emphasis on the ease of doing business. Bankruptcy Act we talked about. A lot of the reforms that we actually from NITI Aayog have tried to get the states to do, reforms that we were not able to do at the central government because of not enough votes in the Rajya Sabha. Also, in terms of the small and medium firms, the government has worked on easing up the credit constraint for the small and medium firms. So I think it's a continuous process. We have to keep exploring newer and newer avenues and push wherever we can do the push. But absolutely, I think jobs is the first top priority for the government, and I remain optimistic. I think we'll get there.